Deborah Roffey, what about a cruise? What about a cruise? Deborah Roffey.
Ladies and gentlemen, who here loves a holiday? Everybody loves a holiday. I love a holiday. I love to go camping, I love to go flying, I love to go self-catering, love to go on a cruise, love all different sorts of holidays. But what about a cruise? A cruise takes you away from your home. It takes you over to exotic places and countries, islands, beautiful sunshine, beautiful places, beautiful cultures. And what else? You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean. You don't have to think for yourself. All you have to do is just turn up when they're feeding you, turn up when they're entertaining you, and just relax and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, I first went on a cruise when I was 7. I have since spent 6.5 months at sea all up. I've been on 10 cruises. Now, the first 4 were not little cruises, I must say. They were going from England to Australia, then back from Australia to England, and again, the same thing again, from England to Australia, and Australia back to England again. Beautiful. 4 weeks and 3 days at sea, each of those trips. Now you can imagine, as a young person, the amount of fun and lifestyle that you can have on board for a cruise that length. Fabulous. And best of all, there's no school. That was really, really good. Because you don't have to worry about doing all the things like, your assignments and having teachers and all that sort of stuff. But there was one thing that I particularly loved on one of the cruises, and that was Christmas. And do you know, even Santa makes it on the ship. How he got there, I don't know. Didn't see the sleigh. I'm assuming that there was some sort of arrangement with the ship's captain. Because have you seen the fires on those ships? They burn a lot of smoke, and I don't think it would have come down that. But that was really great fun. However, after those 4 trips, I'd actually only done 1 more cruise, and that was before I went into the police force, which many of you know I've been done in my past. That was lovely, because it was a nice 14-day cruise off to Fiji. Went to Latoka, went to Nemea, went to the Isle of Pines, and all those beautiful, lovely islands around the South Pacific. That was really lovely. But then I got married. And I married a man who didn't want anything to do with ships. So 7 years it took me to convince him to go on a cruise. He would go to 5-star hotels. He would go bush camping. He'd fly to New Zealand for holidays. But try to talk him into going on a cruise, I'd say, come on darling, what about a cruise? No way in the world you can get me on a ship. Don't like water. No way. Anyway, as I say, 7 years later, convinced him to go. So what did we do? Flew to Sydney, fantastic, great flight with Ansett. Remember Ansett? Anybody here fly with Ansett back in the good old days? Got to Sydney, boarded the ship, had a fabulous sail right through the Sydney Heads. It was magnificent, and it was all downhill from there. We had Cyclone X, whatever the name was, coming on the X. So we decided, okay, ship's captain said, we're going to avoid the cyclone approaching us from the east. We're going to go up the west coast of Nemea. Get halfway up the west coast of Nemea, we have Cyclone Y coming from the west. So he said, right, we're not going to do that either. Now we're going to do a complete U-turn and go back to Australia. So we did. So we got to see Cairns, we got to see Townsville, and we got to see Sydney again. So we didn't quite get what we wanted. And on top of all of that, because the weather was so extreme, all of the ship's decks were locked off. So everybody was stuck inside. All the wonderful air conditioning, and everyone who's worked in an office knows if one person gets sick, the whole blooming office gets sick. Well, you can imagine with 650 or 650 passengers on board and about the same equivalent of crew, we were all sick, every one of them. I had a 4.5-month-old baby with a temperature of 41 degrees, trying to contain myself as well, who was sick with the flu as well. So that wasn't a very nice cruise. But, slowly, we get home, and my husband goes, well, that cruise. So 2 years later, off we went again and had a magnificent cruise, a magnificent time. They feed you, I'm not kidding, non-stop. 5-course meals every single time. So breakfast is full-on buffets, or you can have the a la carte if you want to, and it's literally 5 courses. Then you have morning tea if you wish, then there's lunch, another 5 courses, thank you very much, or you can go to the buffet upstairs if you prefer. Then there's afternoon tea. Then for dinner, no, not 5 courses, dinner. 6 courses at dinner. So you can imagine, if you don't walk, if you don't use the stairs, and you decide to use the lifts, and sit your bum beside the pool all day long, yes, you're going to get pretty large. So we made a pact. We were going to use the stairs, we were going to walk around the ship, and all the rest of it, and we're not going to try and put on any weight. Thankfully, I put on 100 grams, which I think was a pretty damn good thing. I think it was probably about 4 cocktails too many I had that day. But it was really good. So if you keep fit by doing stuff like that, you can eat all you like, drink all you like, lose as much money as you like, and come home having had a really fantastic holiday. Who wants to go self-catering? Who wants to go bush camping when you can have everything done for you? And as a woman, ladies, I'm appealing to you as a woman, do you really want to be looking after your families when you go on holiday? Isn't the holiday for us? Just say, right, we're not doing anything. You guys, as in the stewards, are going to look after me. It's my turn to have a holiday. I'm not going to be washing my hands of it, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, what about a cruise?